Coming up, the first week of high school football is in the books in the Dakotas. We've got the comebacks, overtimes, and post-game reactions.
We will take a closer look at a couple of this week's great early season matchups, including a huge 1-versus-2 battle in South Dakota.
Plus, Jandy and I resume our own march toward a championship as we go head-to-head in our first round of Pigskin Pick'em. Varsity Sports starts right now. And how is everybody doing? Alongside Jason Andera, I am Jay Elson. Well, last week, not a bad way to kick off the high school football season, Jason. We saw a little bit of everything.
We saw some great overtime games, including that 5-overtime thriller where we were there. You know, a lot of the coaches talk about cleaning stuff up, and they will. They'll clean stuff up going forward. But the matchups, as far as we were concerned, terrific.
Tough to imagine a better start to the high school football season. We start tonight by taking a look back at the week that was in our weekly South Dakota Rewind. And up first, how about some extended highlights from what was an unbelievable battle between Yankton and Brookings. It was a rematch of last year's 11AA title game. That one was pretty good, but Jason, this one might have been better. Let's go into the highlights for this one. And no score in the first quarter. It's Brookings quarterback Devin Coughlin going up top to Mitchell McKibben.
Big target for them, and he cashed in a few times.
27-yard pickup on that play. 2 plays later, Coughlin on the rollout finds his way into the end zone from 3 yards out, and it's 7-0 Bobcats. Less than a minute to go before the half now. Yankton finally gets on the board. Tanner Frick, a 3-yard touchdown, and we are tied at 7 apiece. But that would be very short-lived. On the ensuing kickoff, it's McKibben showing off the wheels.
That guy can run, and they need a game breaker after losing Dayton Bird last year. I think they found one.
Absolutely crazy game. Fast forward now, tied at 21 in overtime. Yankton strikes first. Reed Sawatsky to Tanner Frick. 9-yard score. It's 28-21 Bucks. Brookings comes right back, though. Devin Coughlin to a sliding McKibben, and we're tied at 28. We go to double overtime, and in that second session, Coughlin sneaks it in from 1 yard out, 35-28 Brookings. Back comes Yankton on 4th down. Last chance for the Bucks. Sawatsky floats one to Michael Hine for the score, 35-35.
Sawatsky just got better and better as this game progressed. He kept fighting for his team and kept getting them into more and more overtime.
Third overtime session now. Yankton's Jared Rafferty misses a field goal, so Brookings has a chance to win it. But just as Coughlin is reaching for the goal line, he fumbles.
Oh, no.
Yankton recovers, and we're going to a 4th OT. In that frame, Coughlin gets picked off by Raiden Turka, so Yankton can now win it. But after a high snap forces them back, Rafferty has to try a 41-yarder. He misses. You got it. 5th overtime.
They lost track by now.
Sawatsky sneaks it in from 1 yard out to put Yankton up 42-35 in that 5th OT session. Last chance for Brookings now, but Coughlin turns it over again. You hate to see it end like this. He's picked off by Nick Rakusik, and that does it. Bucks win an absolute thriller in 5 overtimes. Count it, 5 overtimes, 42-35 the final.
It had to be, a turnover is going to finish it up at the end. I thought we had lost it a couple times. We made a big play. Tanner Frick gets a fumble recovery, and then we get the interception at the end. So the turnovers were the deciding factor, and I'm glad we came up on the positive side there.
What a ball game. Let's move up to 11 AAA now. Brandon Valley and Sioux Falls, Washington. Quarterback Jack Skelhaas completed 17 of 26 passes for 183 yards to lead the Warriors to a 31-7 opening night win over the Lynx. Washington now looks to move to 2-0 for the first time since 2012 as they take on Lincoln Friday.
Our offense did a really nice job, and we had some big plays out of some nice receivers, and then the running backs got going later on when we started wearing them out. So I'm pretty happy with what happened here tonight.
All right, O'Gorman had very few problems with Rapid City Central. The Knights did get down 7-0 early, but they came back in a big way. Luke Fritsch accounted for 6 touchdowns, 4 of them on the ground, 2 through the air, as OG put its offense into overdrive, and they crushed the Cobblers
Our team, I would say, is the closest we've been in a while, and I'm just pumped, especially to get off a season on this note tonight.
I'm pretty proud of the way the kids played. We got everybody in. Everybody did a pretty good job, and I think we improved tonight, and that's the main thing.
Roosevelt did most of its damage in the third quarter at Aberdeen Central on Friday. The Riders got 2 touchdowns from quarterback Jet Thude and another from Tyson John as they pulled away for a 40-7 victory.
Took us a while. I thought we got off to a slow start. Moved the ball the first half, just couldn't finish any drives off. Some bad penalties that kept us in trouble. Missed assignments, just little things I think we can fix, and we have to fix if we're going to win this next week. It's going to be a much different ballgame.
The opener at Rapid City's O'Hara Stadium was a little bit sloppy, but Lincoln battled through for a 40-19 win over Stevens. It was Nolan Kiley who did his part for the Pats, carrying 21 times for 135 yards.
We saw another championship rematch in Class 11A in South Dakota. Madison exacts a little revenge on defending champion Del Rapids. The Bulldogs turned on the Jets after this Jackson Yankee pick 6 and cruised past the Warriors 41-6.
And offensively, we had a couple holding penalties that brought some big plays back, but those are to be expected early on in the season.
Last year we had a good senior class, and they taught us a lot. And this year, being a senior, we got to show leadership to our young kids, and they got a lot of talent coming up, and they're going to be good in the future, and we're looking to build on that.
Sioux Falls Christian stormed out of the gate against McCook Central Montrose and never looked back. The Chargers ran over MCM with Keegan Van Egdom, who piled up 135 yards and 2 scores. The defense did the rest as Christian records the shutout 36-0.
I've been a train wreck since Sunday. I know McCook brought back some key players. They brought back their quarterback, their running back. I've been so nervous just thinking about what they're bringing to the table, and we came out and we played football tonight like our kids have never played before, and we've never played on both sides of the ball the way we did tonight.
Impressive start for the Chargers, man. That's a young program up and coming. Maybe this is finally their time.
One of the bigger surprises. We knew they'd be good, but a shutout good over a ranked team, that was a great start.
Absolutely. All right, well, that's a look at how things played out here in South Dakota. When we come back, we'll take a look back at Week 1 in North Dakota, which included a battle of heavyweights in Minot. You're watching Varsity Sports.
Varsity Sports on Midco Sports Network is presented by Mitchell Technical Institute and Shields.
You're watching Varsity Sports on Midco Sports Network. Go Bulldogs!
And welcome back. Well, we have surveyed the scene in South Dakota. Now it's time to do the same in North Dakota. It's time for our North Dakota Rewind. We'll start with Thursday's game between Bismarck Century and Fargo Davies, and this one was all Patriots as Adam Geiger, Logan Gross and company capitalized on several Eagles miscues, and they shut out the defending AAA champs 21-0.
Yeah, West Fargo also struck first in their matchup with top-ranked Minot on Friday, but the Magi came charging back. They take a lead on a Ben Belinsky touchdown, but would seal the game with this West Borgen pick 6. Minot outlasts West Fargo 20-12.
That's a good football team, and truly 2 teams that are finding a lot about themselves tonight. Both teams need to get in better shape. That's pretty apparent. Lots of mistakes, lots of young kids running around, though, for the first time at a varsity level, and so we'll enjoy it, but we know there's lots of work ahead, and so do they, and in the end, the outcome doesn't mean anything in terms of playoffs and all that, so hooray for one day, and then we got work to do.
2 teams with title dreams played on Saturday night in the Bismarck Community Bowl. Senior running back Jackson Ford ran for 222 yards and 3 touchdowns to vault Bismarck to a 55-20 win over Grand Forks Red River. The Demons outscored the Rough Riders 21-0 in the second half.
My stomach was turning a little bit, but Gibson talked to me before the game and just told me to slow everything down, and I did that, and it worked. Thank God.
I can't say enough about our quarterback. That's the first game he started, and he was very heady out there. There was a couple things that he liked, and we talked, and he was very calm, cool, collective. As long as he can do those things offensively, I think we're going to be a lot better than what we thought we'd be.
Great start for the Demons. Let's turn our attention to West Fargo Cheyenne, who christened their brand new stadium in style, rolling over Bismarck Legacy 62-18. Skylar Angelis led the ground attack with 124 yards and 2 touchdowns for the Mustangs.
Mandan built a 16-0 third quarter lead on Fargo South, only to see it slip away. Gus Siaway of the Bruins clawed all the way back, scoring 20 unanswered fourth quarter points to steal the win, 20-16.
Oh, what a chance for Mandan to steal one at home, but didn't quite get it done. Well, the Shanley-St. Mary's battle has become one of the most intense rivalries in the state over the past few seasons. Shanley got up early in this one, but St. Mary's used a sophomore quarterback to fuel a furious comeback. Cole Gendrew led the Saints to a 27-19 home win. They extend their win streak now to 16 games in a row.
Impressive stuff. Finally, the two biggest programs in Walsh County went head-to-head in the season opener for the third straight year, and once again, it was Park River Fordville Lankin that earns the bragging rights. Defending Class A champs thump AA contender Grafton 48-16.
A lot of great games in that first day of action in North Dakota, and I'm looking forward to a lot more.
Absolutely. Stay tuned, folks. We'll make our picks for this week's top games in a bit, but coming up next, find out which players made the biggest splash in the box score in week number 1.
Varsity Sports on Midco Sports Network is presented by Mitchell Technical Institute and Shields.
Okay, Jason, there were a lot of guys that played really well last week, and we want to spend some time now and just take a look at some of the guys who really jumped off the page in terms of statistics. Who do you got?
I'm going to start with O'Gorman's Luke Fritsch. 6 team touchdowns. He did 2 of them through the air, 4 of them on the ground, led a great attack for the Knights, and a ton of other great players that you see on this list, especially from the small schools. Love to give them a little pub.
Yeah, one of those, Hayden Schmidt from Mount Vernon Plankington. Look at this night, 2 interceptions on defense, Chad. He returned one of those for a touchdown. He had a passing touchdown. He also carried the ball 9 times for 126 yards and 2 touchdowns as Mount Vernon Plankington beat up on Mount Mary.
I don't know if Mount Vernon's seen a player like that since maybe a certain Chad Greenway.
That's
both sides.
A pretty good comparison that you got there. How about North Dakota?
North Dakota, Cole Gendrew came in, didn't even start the game, and ended up with 151 yards on the ground, threw for 82 more, breaking the game open for 2 more touchdowns.
Yeah, how about Ryan Michaels out of Rugby? 6 catches, 158 yards, and 3 touchdowns through the air. He also had a punt return, 89 yards for a score as they knocked off Minot Ryan, a team that dropped out from Class 2A this year. Rugby gets the win.
Impressive
in
list.
That one. All right, well, the top 2 teams in South Dakota are getting set to tangle this Saturday night in Sioux Falls. We'll get a preview, the 1 versus 2 battle between Roosevelt and O'Gorman when we come back.
Varsity Sports on Midco Sports Network is presented by Mitchell Technical Institute and Shields.
Well, it's not often that you get such a tasty matchup so early in the season, but this year's Dakota Bowl features the top-ranked Roosevelt Rough Riders and number 2 O'Gorman Knights. It's coming up Saturday night at Howard Wood Field in a game that you can see live right here on Midco Sports Network. All right, Jason, do you think we will see any surprises on Saturday?
It's hard to figure out what qualifies as a surprise because O'Gorman, since Steve Keeter has coached, has not used the shotgun formation. He pulled out a shotgun last week. Tyler Schulte, his assistant, who obviously played for him about 10 years ago, helped him install that shotgun offense, and they've got the personnel to do it. So is that a surprise? I don't know if that's a surprise, but it will be to a lot of people who are used to watching O'Gorman over the years. They're going to pass the ball. They might not pass it more than 10 times, but when they do, I think that's where they make their hay.
And obviously they've got a quarterback, they've got a receiver that can
defense, a running back, several running
teams.
backs.
We saw it already last week in the opener against Rapid City Central. Well, we've heard now that what Jandy thinks about this one, and that means it's time to hear what the coaches had to say about this highly anticipated matchup. Here are Roosevelt's Kim Nelson and O'Gorman's Steve Keeter.
I don't think we're really caught up in that kind of thing. We've been number 1 in the preseason, or at least at some point the last 3 years in a row, and it's gotten us 2nd place. So right now we're not real happy to be number 1 if that's the result. But we got a long season and a lot of hills to climb, a lot of things to get over before we're talking about a state championship. So it's our goal, it's everybody's goal, and we're always in the back of our mind thinking about getting there. But this is a big team in the way, and we need to come out and play as well as we can play, and not step backwards.
The matchup itself, Roosevelt-O'Gorman, is just a great matchup. It's always been a great rivalry. We're 2 miles from each other, in location. kids all know each other, play with each other, and all other kind of teams. So it's a great rivalry anyway. But to have a year where we come out where basically we're 1-2 in the state, and to play this early and then to play in Dakota Bowl is just, just a lot of good circumstances coming together. It's just going to be fun.
All right, so the coaches are clearly ready for the big game. Another guy that's ready is our Alex Heinert, who will call the action for us here on Midco Sports Network on Saturday night. Alex, what are you looking forward to about this matchup the most?
Well, you know me, it doesn't take too much to get me excited, but this is really a marquee matchup in South Dakota high school football. This is 1 versus 2 in 11 AAA under the lights at Howard Wood Field. Now, nobody's opinion about Roosevelt and O'Gorman changed after each won lopsided games last week against lesser opposition. So this is really our first chance to gauge how far O'Gorman has progressed since last season and just how good this Roosevelt team really is. Personally, I'm excited to see the 2 best sets of skill position players in the state on the same field. You've got 2 great dual-threat quarterbacks in Luke Fritch and Jet Thune, 2 powerful downhill tailbacks in Dodie McClincha and Tyson John, and a handful of guys that can make plays in the passing game. Jack Peary, Tyler Van Vorst, Jamal Al-Busaifi. Both teams are big up front. Both have ample speed and strength on defense. Plus, Antonio Casiello, Justin Mueller, 2 guys who are fun to watch in the open field in the return game. There just aren't many weaknesses on either side. I think we're in for a classic Saturday night, guys.
All right, thanks, Alex. Now, remember, if you can't get to the game in person, and we do want to encourage you that if you're available, get to the game, because this is quite an event.
Great atmosphere.
Absolutely one of the best nights of high school football. The President's Bowl coming up next week. Obviously, another one of those exciting nights in South Dakota high school football. But certainly, if you can get to Howard Wood Field on Saturday, do yourself a favor. However, if you can't, you will be able to see it right here. The top 2 teams in South Dakota high school football, Roosevelt and O'Gorman, going head-to-head right here on Midco SN. Jandy will be joining Alex in the booth for that one. I know he's looking forward to that, and you should be too. All right, well, now we can't afford to sacrifice Jandy's objectivity in this matter, so we will not be making picks for that game, but we will give you our thoughts on some of the other top matchups coming up this weekend in the Dakotas. We're going to do that right after this.
Varsity Sports on Midco Sports Network is presented by Mitchell Technical Institute and Shields.
And welcome back to Varsity Sports, and this is the part of the show, Jason, where we get to have a little bit of fun on our own as we try to correctly pick head-to-head what we have deemed to be some of the top games coming up this week in North and South Dakota in high school football. Again, you get 1 point per correct pick, and we also have that separate upset special. You get 2 if you get that one, and that could be a difference maker as the season wears out.
That's huge. Well, but I'm ready for it. These are going to be some great games.
All right, 4 games, 2 each from North and South Dakota. We start in Class 3A in North Dakota. Bismarck makes the trip to West Fargo.
I'll tell you what, both these teams have their strength up front in their lines. It's going to be fun to watch them go head-to-head, but I do think the Demons tip the scales a little bit with their running game. I think Jackson Ford's going to get it done.
Yeah, Jackson Ford is the kind of difference maker that James Johannesson was for Fargo South the last couple years. Maybe not quite to that magnitude, but if they go in thinking he's going to have a good night, they're going to be in good shape. I think he's going to have a good night on Friday, and I like Bismarck as well. Minot had a test last week against that West Fargo team. Now they go on the road at Fargo Davies, a team coming off a disappointing shutout loss in their opener.
Yeah, both teams, had a little struggle. I mean, both teams had a little sloppy play with penalties. Davies had problems with turnovers, and I think that turnover problem could really get magnified when you go to that defensive backfield that Minot has. We talk a lot about Belinsky and Lund, some of the weapons on offense, but that defense is going to get it done for Minot. They win.
Yeah, Minot didn't play the cleanest game themselves in that West Fargo game, but I think they're going to get things cleaned up this week as well, and I like them to exact a little revenge at Fargo Davies' expense, so I like Minot as well. In South Dakota, good matchup in the ESD as Pierre travels to Brookings. Pierre, a big test last week, had to come back late to beat Watertown, and Brookings, of course, that 5 overtime heartbreaker against Yankton.
This is going to be a really fun year in the ESD, folks. These teams are so razor-thin close together. So what separates it for me? It's what Brevin Kaiser did last week, leading his team back to an overtime, getting the win in overtime. A little more seasoned quarterback for Pierre. I'm going to take him with another big road win. 2 big road wins for Pierre right off the bat.
I'll give you that Kaiser is the more seasoned guy, but I thought Coughlin showed some things. I thought McKibben had a huge night. Obviously, together, they're on the same page. They found each other an awful lot in that game against Yankton. And they played well on their home field last time. So I'm going to give the edge to Brookings, actually, in this one. All right, finally, at All Sioux Falls matchup here, Washington and Lincoln. And boy, after the first week, this one just got a little more interesting.
You know what? A lot of people are kind of shifting over to that Washington bandwagon after watching them, what they did in the week 1. And Lincoln off to a rough start with the new quarterback, Holdenberg. He didn't really get things into sync till later, but they can run the ball. And I think I just changed my mind. I'm going to pick Lincoln in this one because they're big up front and they can move people around. I think the running game is going to come down to. I'm going to go with the Patriots.
You know, it's hard to pick against them because they prove time and time again, when I have tried to pick against them, they've proven me wrong. But I'm going to do it one more time. And I think it does settle in the trenches. I think whoever wins that battle, as it so often happens in high school football,
Washington's good up front.
Washington's awfully good at both lines. And I think they have the edge, just the slightest edge in this game. So I'm going to go with the Warriors to get the win and end that streak for Lincoln, as impressive as it has been. Finally, now quickly, our upset picks of the week.
Speaking of streaks ending, I'm going to go out way on the edge of the limb here and take Wahpeton, who lost in week 1 to Valley City, but really showed some resiliency, coming back from 20 points down in the fourth quarter to force overtime. Carson Zarik's got it together. I think with the home field advantage, they're going to end St. Mary's 16-game winning streak.
That would be something. I'm not going to go quite that far out on the limb. I'm going to pick a game from South Dakota Class 11B. I like Parkston over Tri-Valley. Now, Trojans did lose their season opener, but they were at T-Area, a Class A team, whereas Tri-Valley, a team that a lot of people have very high up in their polls, just a 5-point win at home against Elk Point Jefferson. I think they're in some trouble as they make the trip to Parkston, so I'm going to go with the Trojans for my upset pick here in week 1. All right, that is going to do it for us for this week. For Jason Andera, I am Jay Elson. Remember to bring it back here Friday night for Varsity Sports Live, starting at 10:30.